Hello, my name is Michelle, and I work as a pharmacist over in San Francisco. I was born and raised in St. Louis, and my father works for Amarin. So I decided to go into healthcare, I think because I wanted to serve other people. I love to help others. I really enjoy seeing repeat patients come back and share about how they're doing, and they're doing better because of how we're able to help care for them.
And she chose a profession just because she liked to help people. In the past, before she graduated, she'd done so many volunteers for different organizations. She even went out of the country to help other people. And she chose that just because she wanted to help other people.
It was a Tuesday morning, and I was at the airport getting ready to leave to fly back to California. And I was just in the TSA line, like most people in the TSA line. I was just scrolling on my phone, just passing the time. And then, you know that sense you have when someone is looking at you, but you don't see them yet? I felt that, so I looked up from my phone, and sure enough, there was a lady with her daughter, and they were both staring at me. It wasn't necessarily a friendly look, but it also wasn't entirely hostile. Maybe they were curious. It was a bit awkward too, because they stared for quite a while. So to try to alleviate that, I just decided to smile and say hello to them. And then at that point, their eyes got even bigger. And like the mom grabbed her daughter's hand and they just ran away, like ducking underneath the barriers in the TSA line. And at that point, I got really confused. I didn't think much of it yet, but I kept dwelling on it as I was getting ready to board my plane. My initial reaction was confusion. I think that was the first word that came to mind. Did I do something to offend them? Did I look funny? Those were the first couple thoughts. And then I think as I was on the plane, just kind of reflecting on it, coming to realize, as the woman ran away from me, she did tell her daughter, we have to go wash our hands, let's just sanitize everything. This was end of February, so just before COVID really became on everybody's radar. So I started connecting the dots. Oh, I was the only Asian person in the line at that time. So maybe that had something to do with it. So then I felt, like, man, I guess it was because of the way I looked that they ran away. So then I started doing a lot of, reflection on the airplane ride, thinking about, well, why did this bother me so much? After I landed, I did call my parents and just to let them know I got back to California safely. And then also ended up talking about how the flight was, and then eventually led to, oh yeah, and I had this kind of odd experience as I was getting ready to board.
So after Michelle called me, I was just a little surprised at first. And then I was a little puzzled. And in my head, I was thinking, why? Because Michelle is probably the sweetest person you ever met. And she chose her profession to help other people. When customers come to her, she always smile and say hello. That's her trademark.
My mom was encouraging. She was just, you didn't do anything wrong. You just smiled and said hello, and their response is, that's their responsibility, and you're responsible for your response. And my dad was just saying the same things. It's unfortunate that we live in a world where we tend to judge people before we really get to know them. But, we have to give people the benefit of the doubt, he always says, and just don't let it bother you too much, but just also be aware that that does happen. As humans, it's really easy to dwell on people's actions, especially if it seems like against you. But I think at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own actions. And unfortunately, when people, lash out or speak poorly of another person, it's easy to let that kind of take over and make us want to respond almost just as equally, or if not as worse, as the person's actions against us. I think if we were to stop maybe and act a different way, pause a little bit and think, okay, clearly there's something going on with the other person. Either they're trying to provoke me or trying to get a certain response out of me. Maybe the wording is like to turn the cheek, that there could be a different response, or it could cause the other person to pause. But at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own actions and responses. I think it was like Eleanor Roosevelt that was saying that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
My thinking about this is just for everybody to maybe slow down a little bit to make judgment, give the other person the benefit of the doubt, and to show them we are all human and we care for each other.
So after the airport incident, I was asked to participate in a project to bring awareness around xenophobic narratives. I think this is a good way to maybe courageously shift from inaction to action. For me personally, when it occurred, again, I really thought it was a minor instance and maybe I was too sensitive. I didn't really think it was a story worth sharing. So I realized that many people experience something like this on a grand scale, that my experience is quite minor compared to what other people face daily. But a friend of mine heard me talking about it in a group chat and said, hey, I would really love to make a short animation or video out of it. So we worked on it. It was actually a lot of fun. And after we published it, a lot of people started reaching out to me to say they really connected with it. They had similar experience as well.
I'm glad that Amarin put diversity, equity, and inclusion within our core value. We all work for the same company, and our value is what we reflected to represent our company. Our outer appearance doesn't bear any reflection from within, and we all need to slow down in our judgmental thinking. We need to respect each other and show that we are all human beings.
I think the big thing is for us to have respectful curiosity about one another, to have a safe place to ask questions and to be humble in response. I think like doing what we're doing now, having these conversations, getting to know, saying like, hey, your story is worth sharing and experiences. Initially, I didn't think my story was really worth sharing or discussing because it seemed really minor compared to what others face. I think having these conversations afterwards has been really healing for me, just to be reminded like, this is worth talking about. This is helpful. This can be healing for some. I think there's still a lot of progress to be made to address racism at all levels. It has been encouraging in that I think racism used to be more of a taboo or less talked about topic, but now it's everywhere. It's like the Band-Aid has been pulled off and open dialogue is being encouraged. And I think every opportunity should be taken to talk about this. And I see that people want to talk about it now. I think the bottom line is, we do have a problem in this nation and the pandemic exposed more of it. I don't think there's necessarily one solution, but it's rather a combined effort from everybody. It's easy to say I'm right and just kind of leave it at that, but to say like, okay, I think I'm right, but maybe there's another angle that I'm missing, and to be open to hearing, having that discussion again with other people who, have different upbringings, different backgrounds, who look different. I think as a human race, that's the beauty of us, is that we're so diverse and there's so many different angles and stories and perspectives, that if we just stick to our own, what looks like us, what sounds like us, how are we ever going to advance? If we just stick to what we know and not explore and say like, okay, maybe there is a better way, and just to be open to hearing that and be humble to stop talking for a moment and just listen. So after I landed in the airport and I was waiting for my luggage, there was a little boy who was just waving at people coming and going. And he turned and looked me in the eye and smiled and waved as well. I think it was during that encounter, as I was still thinking about my previous encounter, that I realized, okay, it was a good reminder to me to think the best of people and to be hopeful and positive for change.